The ideas, procedures, and suggestions contained within this podcast are not intended as a substitute for consulting with a medical professional. All matters regarding your health and fitness require medical consultation and supervision. Welcome to the Warrior Wellness Podcast, a podcast for military members, veterans, and first responders focusing on fitness, health, nutrition, and biohacking. Our mission with this podcast is to introduce America's heroes to lifestyle habits and hacks that will help them live healthier, happier lives, and in turn, be fit enough to continue their support of their communities and country.
Hey guys, this is Stephanie Lincoln. I am the founder of Warrior Wellness Programs and the host of the Warrior Wellness Podcast. And today I'm interviewing Dr. Jeffrey Gross. He is the founder of Recelebrate and a pioneer in the field of regenerative medicine. He has a career dedicated to treating a myriad of spine, joint, and chronic health problems. He has transformed thousands of lives by transitioning from traditional surgical methods to the innovative use of stem cells and stem cell-derived exosomes. So today he's going to be talking about the transformative potential of regenerative medicine and guide you on how to prolong your health span with stem cells and exosomes and ensure that the quality of your health matches our years without limits. So there's this concept of health span rather than lifespan. So Dr. Gross is going to be touching upon the things that are important to be doing now, no matter what age you are, in order to ensure that you have a health span rather than a lifespan. So, medicine and healthcare, of course, are advancing at the speed of light. But the problem is, it doesn't guarantee that you have health. It just can rather just prolong your life. So we're going to be talking about the way stem cells, when rejuvenated, can display powerful anti-aging and healing properties, offering relief and rejuvenation without the need for surgery, especially if you have chronic health issues. So I'll definitely be talking about all that because all of us broken veterans out there, we need this information. I hope you really enjoy this interview with Dr. Jeffrey Gross. Well, Dr. Jeffrey Gross, thank you so much for being on the Warrior Wellness Podcast. We're so excited to talk about this topic of regenerative medicine because it's exploding right now. And we've never talked about this on the podcast. And I actually, when I was just recording your bio, I started laughing because I said, we broken veterans really need this information. So we're talking to a lot of veterans and first responders and law enforcement officers who have a lot of, chronic injuries, especially us veterans who can probably benefit from what you're going to talk about today. Isn't that right?
That's right. We certainly love helping veterans. In fact, we take part in something called Veterans in Pain, which is a 501(c) charitable organization where we help veterans get access to regenerative medicine.
Oh, awesome. Can't wait to hear about that. Okay. Well, so, there's a lot of misnomers and misunderstandings and misbeliefs and, unfortunately with everything nowadays, polarization around stem cells and the use of stem cells. So why don't we just start there so you can demystify and just kind of tell us what, in plain language, what the heck is this and why is it so important and why is it something we need to be tapping into for prolonged health?
Well, thank you for that. And thanks for having me on. Stem cell, medicine, which really the proper medicine field is called regenerative medicine, as you mentioned earlier, is built around stem cells, but also other components. But we'll refer to them loosely as stem cells for now, because that's the sexy phrase. But it really allows us to tap back into our own biology, our own natural healing mechanisms, and use those strategically to help problems and help heal in areas that aren't able to do that on their own accord. So it's a new strategy that sort of goes to the root cause of the problem, as opposed to relying on medications, pharmaceutical types, maybe even surgeries. We help a lot of people try to avoid surgery, which is really a big deal.
Yeah. And, just kind of can you explain like where the heck do these stem cells come from? Like, I guess most people don't know that you have stem cells in your body. Like right now, we all do.
Yeah, so the two main sources would be yourself. Um, but as I tell people, when you take your car to the shop to have the oil changed, you don't always put the old dirty oil back in. So if you're older or you've had exposures to lots of toxins, chemicals, a lot of inflammation in your body, you might benefit from a donated youthful source. And these typically come from ethically donated, safe, screened, tested, um, perinatal products, meaning a mother delivers a baby by C-section. It's a planned C-section. And instead of throwing away the placenta, the umbilical cord, the amniotic fluid, it's actually harvested because it's not trash, it's treasure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't even know this was going on until like I have a friend who's an esthetician, and they're using it, I guess, in the esthetician world to do, stem cell type of just treatments on the areas of the face just for especially aging skin.
Yeah.
And boy, I got one and I couldn't believe just after one treatment the difference in my skin after just one treatment of the stem cell therapy. So I can only imagine what it could do inside the body. So can you tell us a little bit about, how this is used? What does it do?
Yeah, so I would say there are three main buckets of use, at least in our hands here in my office. The first one I'd call musculoskeletal, so spine, joints like knees, hips, shoulders, other joints, structural issues, the building blocks, and those are usually typically directly injected into those areas for direct use, just like a cosmetic procedure is on the skin. The second group would be for, I'll call it, health of the internal body to suppress inflammation and help healing. And that's usually by IV. And that can range from helping someone with an inflammatory problem like an autoimmune, or, rheumatoid arthritis, thyroiditis, osteoarthritis, something affecting the entire body. Sometimes we see organ issues. We can try to help people heal metabolic issues, recovering from a heart attack or stroke. And then on the other end of that same bucket are people who want to prevent. So we call these the biohackers, right? They come in, they're youthful, they want to stay ahead of the game and suppress the aging process, suppress the degenerating process. They don't want to degenerate, they want to regenerate, right? So, and then the third group is sort of a miscellaneous. We do some cosmetic, some scalp injections for thinning hair. We do the face. We do some sexual health shots for men and women, things like that.
I love how you just pointed out the two contrasting words here, the degenerative and the regenerative. And I think that's a very smart way to think about this. And there is this concept out there on, health span versus lifespan. And, the general public is starting to kind of be introduced to this concept of, we don't want to participate in a sick care system. We want to be in a health care system, right? So just because you have a longer life, but if it's a poor quality and you're in poor health, what the heck is the point, right? And so what you're doing in regenerative medicine is addressing this.
We are. It's ultimately what we're doing in part. We do seek to increase the number of years, but quality years. So we want your health span longer, but we want to fill it with almost 100% of healthy years. So the health span, if your health span reaches your lifespan, then you've won the game. But hopefully you can do that with an even longer lifespan.
Yeah, yeah. So give us some examples of how regenerative medicine can do this. I mean, you kind of mentioned the kind of three different buckets. So, just kind of give us some anecdotal kind of ideas of what this looks like.
Sure. Well, the low-hanging fruit are joints. Knees tend to do extremely well and quickly. So we have a lot of people with degenerating knees, whether they injured the knees, maybe had a prior surgery like a scope, what's called an arthroscopy surgery, maybe a little cleanup. We can help those people. They come to us saying, oh, I have arthritis, I have bone on bone, they have wear and tear of the cartilage. Those are the people we can help. And we really seek to help them delay and avoid a more significant surgery like a knee replacement surgery and improve their pain and function. And that helps the rest of the body, because if you can exercise, if you can go for a hike, you can have a better metabolism, you can have less inflammation in your body. Exercise is the key really to your cellular health and your health span. So we help people keep moving and not become sedentary that way.
Yeah. So what does that entail though? So you're talking about treating the knees with regenerative medicine. Like what does that look like? How would somebody access that? What does the treatment look like?
Yeah, and typically it's a person who's probably already seen a doctor who has said to them, oh, you're the only thing left for you is a knee replacement when you're bad enough, or the injections aren't working anymore. Maybe they're doing some of the lubricating injections, the gels, the Synviscs, the rooster comb, or maybe even cortisone injections, which help in the short run, but in the long run, if you keep doing them, they have a degenerative effect. So someone like that, we love to meet, do a second opinion. A lot of my patients come from all over the country, so we will get on the Zoom like this. We'll get to know them. We'll make sure the rest of their lifestyle is proper, because if we're going to consider a regenerative approach, I want their cells to be as receptive as possible. So we talk about sleep and diet and nutrition and exercise to the extent they can, because a lot of these people are so hurt they can't. We talk about hormone optimization if it's proper, men and women. And then if nothing else has worked, we get an MRI. If it's not been done, we get a high quality MRI, not just your run-of-the-mill low-end MRI. It's done very precisely. And then I'll evaluate it here. We'll share my screen, show everyone. If there are targets that match the sources of pain, then we'll offer someone to come visit us here for an injection in Las Vegas. It's typically a one-time thing. It's not something we expect people to need to be repeated. Now, if they do great for a while and 20 years later they degenerate it again, and they may need another one, but the goal is a one-time procedure. We do the injection at a facility, an injection facility under twilight sedation, not general anesthesia, just a little sedation. And then there's no downtime. We want those people right back up on their joints, using them, stimulating the mechanoreceptors, the parts of the joints that tell the cells what to start calling out for the healing help. And then sometimes people feel better right away because they might be sore from the injection, but they have an anti-inflammatory benefit. We don't want them to take other anti-inflammatories during this time, but they can feel better initially. But the regenerative piece takes a number of months. So usually with the knee, 3 to 4 months, we start to see that kind of benefit. And a lot of people get to the 5-6 month mark, look back and, oh yeah, I forgot. I guess I'm not suffering as much. I guess I can get up easier. I can walk. I can hike. So it's a slow progression. It takes a number of months to get the full regenerative benefit.
Wow, that's profound though, just by one treatment.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm gonna have to be calling you about my shoulder. I'm like, okay, I'm making an appointment with Dr. Gross.
Knees, shoulders, fingers, toes, ankles, wrists. I've done base of the thumb. We've done the spine, all kinds of issues. If we can get there safely and there's a target on the imaging that matches the source of pain and it all lines up, I love to offer this to people because it really is a way to deal with the root cause and help someone regenerate the cartilage that makes that joint work best, that cartilage that they made in the first place. We just have to turn back to the factory and get those machines revved up and ask for some old factory parts.
Yeah. Fire Team Whiskey is now found on Burn-Along. We're so excited to be able to provide all of our fitness and wellness content right on this platform with thousands of other licensed and credentialed providers who are specialized in fitness, health, wellness, and even financial literacy. So if you've ever wanted to join the Fire Team Whiskey programs, now is your chance to not only get all of our amazing content, but also get access to hundreds of thousands of videos that will help you be well. Fire Team Whiskey is one of the exclusive providers on the Burn Along app. And all you have to do to go to join us is go to fireteamwhiskey.com, click on the link at the top of the page, and use that special coupon code we have for you to get Burn Along for as low as $9 a month. Well, I mean, and this is just profoundly revolutionary because, I mean, we're talking about just a general shift in thinking, even with chronic health conditions like degenerative, conditions. And instead of, and we all know, the opioid crisis, that we've been in for quite a while. And, for a lot of these people who've gotten addicted to these pain medications, it's from injuries, from legitimate injuries. And they weren't, drug seeking, and they weren't drug addicts from, it really was just from an injury, and just, the medical system, the traditional medical systems approach to dealing with it. And this is just profound, a different, I mean, we could completely come away from this problem.
Yeah, I mean, this is a natural approach. This is how young people, children tend to heal so easily, right? We're tapping back into that same body that used to be able to heal itself, that now, for whatever accumulation of whatever it's been exposed to, age factors, inflammation, it can't heal like that anymore. We're just tapping back into that youthful strategy by applying these concentrated youthful biologics back to the source. And then, yes, then we don't have as much dependence on drugs and surgeries and disability and lost work and lost income, and the how that affects our economy and what have you.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, even me, like being in the mental health field, like just how many people suffer from chronic pain, and how the mental health effects of that as well. And, the increased in suicide rates in people with chronic pain. And the list goes on and on of things that can be improved with these kinds of natural, safe, effective approaches.
Right. And we see that across the board and I can't tell you how exciting it is to sort of have this, renewed practice, because I was doing traditional spine work before this. I was doing neck and back pain, advising people on therapies and injections and surgeries. And now, I got into this to add a new tool for those patients, but now it's blossomed well beyond that. And we see all kinds of benefits. Sometimes I can't believe how easy it is, some of the results. So it's almost too easy.
Wow. So you mentioned that you can't believe how easy it is. Can you share a story or two where stem cell treatments made a huge difference for somebody?
Sure. I mean, I can tell you, I have a lovely woman who I saw about 2.5 years ago. She was in her upper 70s, years of aches and pains. She couldn't do her crafts with her hands, her fingers. She had osteoarthritis. So she came in and said, I have arthritis. And people misuse that term. And it's not their fault. They were given that term by a doctor who didn't fully explain. She did not have the disease rheumatoid arthritis. She had osteoarthritis, which is inflammation collecting in the joints. It's a metabolic derangement of the joints. So we got her lifestyle on track, and we did one IV treatment, and within a day or two, she could use her hands again. She could walk further. She wasn't taking her pain pills. So she said, well, when will I do this again? And I said, well, call me when you need to. I didn't hear from her for 2 years.
Wow.
Now, this story is an outlier. Usually it doesn't last quite that long, but she called me 2 years later and she said, I'm starting to have pain. I said, starting to? And she said, yes. I said, okay, well, if you let me know when you're ready. And she came in a few months later and said, let's do another one. It had been over 2 years. And she said, I don't want to get to that bad point again. I want to stay ahead of this. So we did it again. And gosh, that was about 4 or 5 months ago already. And haven't heard from her since. So I checked on her once, but she was doing great. So I said, call me when you need to. So I
Wow.
love that kind of story. I have others. One lady that she came to me, and I was actually treating her for her lower back pain because she was part of my spine practice. And she's like, hey, by the way, I may have to go to dialysis. My kidney is having some chronic failure. I have a kidney doctor called a nephrologist. The nephrologist is watching my creatinine, which is a blood test. And the kidneys are supposed to remove this protein creatinine out of your bloodstream. If it can't remove it, it goes up in your blood. It gets backed up in your blood. So her kidneys weren't filtering right, and she said it was getting dangerously high. So we did one IV treatment and brought her creatinine down, and it stayed level. It's been well over 2.5 years, and we've kept her away from dialysis. So I like that. We keep an eye on her. Her nephrologist wasn't sure what happened, but she made no other changes. So it's either divine intervention or something we did. So maybe some of both. And we have stories, where I've had an electrical worker with both knees. He couldn't work. He couldn't walk very far. He was disabled. And he even had knee surgery, did nothing for him. They trimmed up his meniscus. They found some tears. That wasn't his problem. Turns out it was the cartilage behind his kneecap. So we did a very special MRI. I found this. I tested his knee and found that was where his pain was. And then we injected his kneecaps, and he had an initial anti-inflammatory benefit, felt better. And that was, I don't know, 10, 11 months ago. So he's been doing great. He's back to work as an electrician. So he's got his life back on track. So he even had a surgery that didn't work for him. So I love the cases where, someone else has done some just, standard thing, and they just didn't think, didn't look deep. They didn't apply the precise individualized attention that someone like this needed. And we can do that for someone. So I love that. I love helping people every day. So I get my own, dopamine release with that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so wonderful. So I would imagine though that, after these, people get this regenerative treatments, that there's some things to consider as far as their daily lifestyle choices and kind of making sure that the effects of these treatments are sustained as long as possible. What are some things to consider there for after treatment?
Well, before and after, right? We want an anti-inflammatory lifestyle. We want people sleeping restoratively. And that just doesn't mean how long you sleep, but how deep you sleep, and getting the most out of your sleep. And there's a lot to that. We want proper nutrition and diet, adequate protein, low carb, certainly low sugar, proper supplementation. Even if you eat healthy, our fruits and vegetables and things are sort of genetically bleached out, we're watered down. We're not getting the wild type, stuff. So good supplementation, vitamins, minerals, whatever you and your doctor, or if you talk to me, what we work out together. Big fan of omega-3 supplementation, probiotics, vitamin D3 supplementation, not just going into the sun. That alone will not do it. Things like that. The exercise, even if your knees hold you back from using your legs, there are other exercises. You can swim, you can use your arms. There are things to do. If you can't do that, we can talk about other forms of hormesis. Hormesis being a slight stress on the body that builds resilience. That might be through fasting. It might be through hot sauna. It might be through cold plunges. If you can't exercise, it might be through some high intensity interval training. Those are wonderful ways to live longer through hormesis. And it might be through bioidentical hormone optimization, even in men. And we're seeing this younger and younger. We're helping give back hormones to people in their late 30s and even 40s. We want to catch women before menopause. There were decades where women and their doctors either didn't ask them or were too scared to give them anything because there was this false risk of elevated cancer, breast cancer. Turns out that was completely in error. So there's wonderful work on that now, and we want women to have a healthy, optimal hormone optimization going into, through, and beyond menopause. They will live longer. They will have less risk of dementia, less risk of cardiovascular effects, and less risks of osteoporosis. And think about it, if you maintain your bones through exercise, your muscle mass in your bones, you're maintaining your most important store of your own stem cells, your bone marrow.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you have these conversations with your patients, that this stuff is important and it's not just, hey, give me the shot, doc. Like that's not the answer here. Like you have to be focused on the holistic regeneration, right? You want to regenerate in every which way, shape, and form that you can. And it's by doing all those things that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's rare in the medical world. So I'm glad you're having those conversations.
Well, we try very hard not to drink the Kool-Aid and do what I see so many doctors that offer, hey, this one treatment will be really good for you, but your insurance won't pay for it. So we're going to do this other one because that's what they'll pay for. That's the tail wagging the dog. It disgusts me on a regular basis.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I guess, there are questions about, this stuff is probably not covered by traditional medical insurance. So, how do you kind of navigate that?
If you have an HSA or health savings account plan, you can use those funds. Our costs aren't that bad. They've come down because it's more available here in the US. You can spend a lot. You can go out of the country and spend a lot of money, but you don't have to. There are some people there are programs through the VA that sometimes will cover it or help cover it. It's not far-reaching, and it's a lot less when you look at the downtime from, let's say, a knee replacement, the pain, the risks, the blood clot, the side effect, the missed work, and all that. In the long run, a $10,000 or $15,000 procedure one time is probably the cheap way to go.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm sure that there's a lot of skepticism that you encounter that all the time in what you do. So kind of, let's just assume there are skeptics. People are listening to this right now or watching this, and they're like, yeah, that's too good to be true. It definitely probably doesn't work, right?
Yeah. It is kind of, listen, we don't have 100% results, but we have amazing results with very little intervention. So like anything in medicine, nothing is guaranteed. A knee replacement may not remove all your pain. They remove none of it, actually. So it's no different than going into any other endeavor like that. What we do is based on good published science. Most of that science is in Europe or Asia, because here in the US, we're behind in our own science. Now, that doesn't mean our science is better. We are suppressed because the people that make pills and the people that make knee replacement devices and spine hardware and other political and economic influences have suppressed the ability for the government to support the research. And then even the research that is being done now, it's hard to get done because that means some of the people would have to get a placebo, and who wants to be that person, right? So we do base what we do off good work done in other places. In fact, the joint work that I do is based on French literature, and a number of years ago, they published 15-year follow-up data. So they're due soon to publish their 20-year follow-up data. So what we're doing is not something they tried 6 months ago on 3 patients. This is good science. The other myth that you see, or the naysayers say, oh, this is illegal. It's not illegal. The FDA has declared, that biologic stem cell medicine falls under their, umbrella, and the FDA regulates marketing claims that are made by drugs, food, devices, medical devices, things like that. So we are not allowed, just to be compliant, to make any claim that stem cells will cure or treat a disease or condition. Those are their words.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a physician, I've never made a claim that I can cure anything, even though I probably have. I have used the word treat before in other ways. So what we think with the natural biologics is that they will help your body do the work. So they will help your body heal itself. So that's what we say, and that's true. So we mean to be compliant, but that doesn't mean it's illegal. It means they can, to be compliant, we don't have free speech in that realm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I just see it as that was perfectly said. Like, you're just enhancing your own body's ability to do what it should be doing, right? But because of all sorts of different factors, it's just not doing it, right? So
Right.
you're just kind of boosting that innate ability of your body to heal itself.
Right. We're tapping back into the original factory equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how can somebody, learn more? How can somebody, who's listening to this, who's like me and has like a chronic shoulder pain thing, and it's just like, okay, I'm ready to look into this. Like, what's the next step for people to do?
Well, do a little homework and make a list of questions. Get on your web browser and Google shoulder pain, stem cells. There are other biologics besides stem cells. The lower end would be PRP, or platelet-rich plasma, which comes from your own blood. And then there are stem cells, and then there are even beyond stem cells, there are stem cell signaling factors called exosomes. So exosomes are really the business end of stem cells, and they have some advantages, including they're less costly because they're more abundant. So you look at all those things, look at the research. You'll see most of it comes from Europe and Asia. And then ask your doctor. Like, if you have a shoulder problem, you ask your doctor. And you say, hey, doc, what are all the options? And if they don't offer you a regenerative medicine option, say, hey, you didn't offer me a regenerative medicine option. How come? If they say, oh, it's not ready, that just means they haven't been trained or retrained to do it. And say, hey, I'd like to look into those options. Can you recommend someone that that does them so I can get a second opinion? And if they give you pushback, that means they're limited in their belief structure. They're not open-minded. They're not willing to consider new and maybe better ideas. So you might want to talk to someone else. I'm always, willing to talk to new people. We do most of our work remotely. We only invite people here to Las Vegas, where my clinic is, if they've done everything and we figured out they're ready for an injection and they want to do that. So we do it all by Zoom, and it's they can reach out. But do your homework, come prepared with questions. Most of the people I meet are already inclined. They've already heard of stem cells or know someone that's had them, or something like that, where it's not foreign. Because honestly, if people have they're completely turned off by the idea, they're probably not going to call and talk to me.
Yeah. Well, great. So Dr. Jeffrey Gross, your practice is called Recelebrate?
Yes, Recelebrate, celebrating the renewal of your cells. And if you search that online, you'll find any way to get us, whether it's our website, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, or same name everywhere, RECELLEBRATE.
Yes, and all of those links will be in the show notes. So I just wanted to make sure we said it out loud, though, just for the people listening. So Dr. Jeffrey Gross, founder of Recelebrate, pioneer in regenerative medicine. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Warrior Wellness podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Warrior Wellness podcast. I'm your podcast host, former Army Captain Stephanie Lincoln. the founder of Warrior Wellness Programs. Check us out at warriorwellnessprograms.com. I really would appreciate you just taking just a second to follow or subscribe wherever you saw this video or listened to this podcast. And even better, if you leave us a review. That'll help us reach others who really need this information. So your honest feedback about what we're offering on the Warrior Wellness Podcast will help us do that. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.